Okay, next topic is job, batch, and service costing. 3 topics in this chapter, but they aren't very complicated topics. Simple, straightforward. That's why they have put all of them in this one chapter. So let's start with job costing. Job costing involves finding the cost and selling price, the profit of a job. So what is a job? A job is when things are done on request of customer. It is like a short-term contract, like a project. Some organizations don't have specific things that they have made. They make things on request of customers. And when they make things on request of customers, that is called a job. An example of this could be like a carpenter making desks on specific requests of customer. So obviously, every time job is going to be different, requirement is going to be different, and the cost and the selling price is going to be different. So we don't have a standard product that we want to cost. We want to cost a product or a service on specific request. In job costing, we normally use cost plus pricing. Target costing you will study in alternative costings, which is the opposite of this, or I've already made a video about it for a 5 level. You can look at that. But cost plus pricing is when we find the cost of a product and we add a profit to it to find the selling price. That is cost plus pricing. Because in job costing, every time the job is different, we cannot use target costing here. It would be very difficult to use that. There are certain steps involved in job costing. You don't have to memorize these steps. Just understand what comes before and what comes after. I don't recommend memorizing them. So the first thing that happens in a job costing system that organization uses, obviously there are other many detailed things involved, but these are the main things that happen. One thing is that the customer comes with the requirement. Let's take carpenter as an example. Customer comes with a requirement. He wants a desk to be made. So he gives the measurement. He decides the type of wood that is going to be used. So all the features is agreed. Based on that features, the next step is a cost estimate is prepared. We call it cost estimate because if you want to know what is the difference between quotation and estimate, this is where you know the main difference. Estimate is prepared when something is not 100% confirmed. So obviously the price that the carpenter says could increase, decrease, depending on the actual cost or depending on maybe any changes that is made in the middle by the customer. So an estimate is prepared of the cost and is sent to the customer, and then in the next step customer agrees. Customer agrees means after obviously a lot of discussion, and then work is carried out as planned. Maybe he wants it in 1 week, maybe he wants it in 2 weeks, whatever is the planned work. Obviously, sometimes it might take longer and sometimes it might take less than the period, but organizations that want to satisfy the customers, they always do it on time. As the work is done, cost of it is recorded. The wood that the carpenter would be using, the time that he is using, all the overheads that is used, a record of that will be done. And then at the end, a profit would be added based on agreed amount that would be done in the beginning, so the selling price can be found. So this is job costing. So what we are doing in this chapter about job costing is finding the cost and the selling price of the job. So we are not doing all of these steps. So our focus is record of the cost and finding selling price and profit of the job. So to record the cost, we have something called timesheet. Timesheet is specific for recording hours that a company spends on job of a client. So it is something specific. And then in job cost card, we write all the details. It includes material, overheads, labor, and everything. Other than the job cost, organizations can also prepare something called job cost account. So in this question, we will look at both the job cost account and the job cost card. So requirement of the question, remember in some of the chapters there were double entries requested about cost. They were in accounting for labor chapter, they were in accounting for material chapter, and I told you that you will study them in process costing chapter. So a little bit idea of that can be gained here as well. Okay, so we have a question. Requirement is what is the total cost of job number 173? A company operates job costing system. The estimated cost for job 173 are as follows. We have material cost 5 meters at 20 per meter. We have labor 14 hours at 8 per hour. We have variable production overheads are recovered at the rate of 3 per hour. Recovered, absorbed, they mean the same thing. So it simply means that we have overhead absorption rate of 3 per direct labor hour. Production overheads for the year are budgeted to be 200,000 and are to be recovered on the basis of 40,000 direct labor hours. Remember, this 3 was variable overheads and this one is fixed overheads. So we are using 40,000 total hours for 200,000 total cost, which gives us 5 per hour. Other overheads in relating to selling, distribution, and administrative overheads are recovered at the rate of 80 per job. So they are specific $80 per job, no problem there. So every cost that is spent on a job is written on left side of the job cost account. So input comes here and output goes there. You could think of it like an asset for the company. The expenditure that they're doing on the job, that becomes like an asset. So the first thing is we are using 5 meters of material at the rate of 20 per meter, which becomes $100. Next is we are using 14 hours at the rate of 8, which becomes 120. Variable overheads is also based on labor hours. So same 14 multiplied by 3. And then fixed overheads is also based on labor hours. We have 14 multiplied by 3. So hours are the same, rates are just different every time. And then variable overheads is 80. So when we total this, we have 100 plus 112 plus 42 plus 70 plus 80. It becomes 404. So 404 is the total cost of the job. You can call it finished goods or whatever you want to call it. So this is how it is done. So the total cost of the job is 404. Instead of doing it in a T account, you could just put it in the statement, and this is actually called job cost card. So we have 404, exact same result. So do it like this in exam. You don't even have to make the format in fact in exam. So they ask specific answer and that's it. Okay, they haven't asked for the selling price, but in job costing they could ask you the selling price as well. So this is just the cost that is incurred on the job. Obviously, it is not the price that we will be charging. So if they ask about the price that will be charged, how can we find that? There are two ways profit is added to the cost of a product. One is profit markup, one is profit margin. Profit markup is profit as a percentage of cost. So when you say I earn whatever the cost of a product is, I will earn 25% on that cost. That is called markup. And when you say whatever the selling price is, in that selling price, I should earn 25%. That is called margin. And margin is usually higher than markup because margin is percentage of selling price, and selling price is usually higher than the cost. And markup is based on cost, so it is usually lower. So if we have 25% markup and 25% margin, then margin is going to be higher. In this example, let's assume we have 25% markup. If we have 25% markup, we simply take the cost and multiply by 25%, which gives us 101, which means the selling price would be 505. But this is how we would do it in when we are calculating markup. What if situations were different? Let's assume we have 30% markup and 30% margin. How would they be calculated? Markup, we just take this and multiply directly by the percentage and that's it. But in margin, you have to divide if the selling price, remember, if it is 100% and we earn 30% profit in it, that means the cost would be 70%. So we would divide by 70 and multiply by 30 will give you the profit, which is 173. You could directly multiply by 100, it will give you the selling price. So I will make a formula here. We have cost, which is always 100% when we are using markup. We add profit on it. Then it gives us selling price, which in this case would be, if I make this 30%, it would become 130%. Like if I want to find selling price directly here, I can multiply by 1.30, it will give me the selling price. And here, multiply by 100, will give me the selling price. So selling price would be based on cost and profit. So the thing is, you're going from top to bottom. But if you're doing margin, start with the selling price. Sales price would be 100. You minus the profit percentage from it, like in this case. 30%, it gives you the cost. So that's how I found the markup. So markup margin is not a job costing topic. It is something you should have studied in ratios. So I will not focus on it a lot. Okay, next let's look at another question. What was the prime cost of the job? Remember, prime cost is the total direct cost. Overheads is the total indirect cost. So total cost becomes prime cost and overheads. If you want to find prime cost, for example, you take total cost minus overheads, it will give you prime cost. If you want to find overheads, you take total cost minus prime, it will give you overheads. A company calculates price of jobs by adding overheads to the prime cost and adding 30% to the total cost as markup. Job number Y256 was sold for $16.90 and incurred overheads of $694. What was the prime cost of the job? Okay, so they said 30% adding to the total cost. It means it is markup. So I can simply take $16.90, which is the selling price, and divide this by 130 because it is a markup. So selling price would be more than 100. Multiply by 100 would give me cost. Now I can use this formula of total cost minus the overheads. It will give me prime cost of 606. Okay, let's assume that this 30% was not markup, it was margin. So then we would have done it like this. We would have taken 1690 divided by 100, multiplied by 70. It will give us cost because 100% would be the selling price, minusing 30%, 70% would be cost. So 1186 minus 694. 489 would have been the answer. That 489 is also in the list here. So remember, if your answer is matching, it doesn't mean that your answer is correct. Because those answers that are there, they are also calculated, usually calculated in many different wrong ways that a student could answer it. Okay, going forward. So sometimes, obviously, practically, you will not be working on just one job at a time. You will be working on different jobs at the same time. So in this question, we are looking at how can we calculate the cost, the selling price and everything of different jobs. So requirement of the question is, what overheads should be added to the job number CC20 for the period? What was the approximate value of closing work in progress at the end of the period? A firm makes special assemblies to customer orders and uses job costing. Data for period are opening work in progress 26,800, 42,700. Remember, work in progress is job that is not completed. I've written here work in progress. Units not fully completed. Opening work in progress is like opening your inventory of unfinished goods. So, and then closing work in progress is closing inventory of unfinished goods. And whatever becomes closing work in progress becomes opening work in progress next period, just like opening and closing inventory. Think of it like inventory, but of inventory of work in progress, not finished goods. Okay, so let's put the data. We have 4 things. Opening work in progress, which in this case is 26,800. Remember, write input on the left side. At 42,790, and then nothing. So it doesn't have job number CC20 does not have any opening work in progress. It means that it is a new job. These other 2 jobs, they were started last period, but they were not completed. But this is a new job. Material 17,275. No material here. Why does this job not require any material? It doesn't mean it doesn't require any material. It simply means that the material requirement was already done last year, which is in the opening work in progress. So sometimes what happens is you buy all the material that you need for a job. The only thing that is left is doing the job. So that is the scenario here. And then because this other job is a new job, we have material for it. Labor 14,500, 3,500, 24,600. Budgeted overheads for the period were 126,000. Job number BB15 was completed on the last day of period. What overhead should be added to the job? Okay, overheads is given budgeted, but there is no budgeted data on which to divide this overheads. So when budgeted data is not given, you can use actual data. And when hours is not given, you can use cost. So in this question, the only thing that we have available which makes sense is the labor cost. So we will divide this overheads based on labor cost. Total labor cost, if we see, is 14,500, 3,500 plus 24,600, which is 42,600. I'm going to take the total overheads, divide by total labor cost, multiply by labor cost of AA10. It will give me the total cost that will be charged to AA10. And I'm going to do the same for all 3 jobs. So answer with whatever is given in the question. So multiplying by 3,500, multiplying by 24,600. Now let's add it here. We have 42,887, 10352, and 72761. Have we added together? 26,800 plus 17,275 plus 14,500 plus 42,885. I know the requirement of the question is something else, but I'm calculating the total cost anyway. So this is the total cost of job number AA10. Let's double check. 26,800 plus 17,275 plus 14,500 plus 42,887. Yeah, it's 2 less. Next we have 42,790 plus 3,500 plus 10352. 56,642. And then finally, 18,500 plus 24,600 plus 72,761. 11,5,861. Okay, requirement of the question. What overhead should be added to job number CC20? CC20, the last one, which was 72,761, 761, yeah, C. What was the approximate value of closing work in progress at the end of the period? If you see here, they said job number BB15 was complete, but the others were not complete. It means they are still closing work in progress. This is closing work in progress, and this is closing work in progress. So the value of closing work in progress collectively is 217323, which is C here. Remember, everything that is input is written here. Everything that is output is written here. Sometimes it is told in a question that this much material, for example, 27 or 17,000 material was transferred to the job, but 7,000 was taken back. So then you have to credit that 7,000. Next, what is the total cost of job number 112? A company operates a job costing system. Job number 112 requires 45 of direct materials, 30 of direct labor. Direct labor is paid at the rate of 7.5 per hour. Production overheads are absorbed at the rate of 12.5. Recovered, absorbed means the same thing. And non-production overheads are absorbed at the rate of 60% of prime cost. Prime cost means total cost. Okay, so first things, we have material 45, labor 30, and then production overheads, they said is 12.5 per hour. The cost of labor is given, and then it is said that 7.5 is per hour. That will give us 4 hours used. If I take 4 hours at the rate of 12.5, that will give me the production overheads that is going to be added, which is 50. So 30 divided by 7.5 gives us 4 hours. 4 hours at the rate of 12.5 gives us 50. And then non-production overheads is said at 60% of prime cost. Remember, overheads is not prime cost. Only the cost of material and the cost of labor, collectively 75 multiplied by 60% of this becomes 45. Remember, to find percentage, I usually directly multiply by percentage, but you don't do that, because sometimes you don't have to multiply. It only works when the figure is 100%. So non-production overheads is 45. The total cost is 45 plus 30 plus 50 plus 45 becomes 170. 170 is the total cost of the job. Let's assume if we were finding selling price, we had 40% markup margin, then we would take 170 divided by 60. Why? Because 100 minus 40 becomes 60, multiplied by 100 will give us selling price. If we had a markup of 40%, then it would be 170 directly multiplied by 140% will give you answer. But I will do it the same way. Divide by 100, because cost will be 100%, multiplied by 140 will give us the selling price. Remember, this is higher than this one because I said margin is a percentage based on selling price. So obviously the overall result of that is going to be higher. Next, let's look at batch costing. Batch costing, the way you calculated the costing system is exactly the same as job costing. There is no difference. But the difference between job costing and batch costing is, in job costing, usually one unit is given, one job is given. In batch costing, many units are given. So we will do the same thing as we did in job costing in terms of calculating cost. The only thing that we will do at the end is take total cost divided by total number of units, it will give us cost per unit. Simple as that. We have a question here. Calculate the cost per unit of batch 38. Rio manufactures Brazil to order and has the following budgeted overheads for the year based on normal activity levels. Production departments, we have welding and assembly, budgeted overheads 12,000, 20,000, budgeted activity 30,000 and 3,000 and 2,000. Selling and administrative overheads are 25% of factory cost. An order for 500 Brazils made as a batch 38 incurred the following costs. So we have 500 units in the batch. We have material 24,000, labor 200 hours at 5 per hour, 400 hours at 10 per hour, 1,000 paid for X-ray equipment for testing the accuracy of welds. Okay, direct material 24,000, straightforward. Direct labor is 200 at the rate of 5. And 400 at the rate of 10. Equipment 1,000. Overheads is said here, selling and administrative overheads are 25% of factory cost. Whatever is factory cost, which is 24,000 plus 1,000 plus 4,000. Remember, factory cost means everything, overheads, prime cost, everything. So we have 24,000, 1,000, 4,000, and then 1,000. Yeah, becomes 30,000. 30,000 multiplied by 25% becomes 7,500. Sorry, this is I've left the overheads. This is factory cost. We have overheads somewhere as well. This is factory overheads, 25%. This is sales and distribution. We have factory overheads as well. Yeah, here. We have 12,000 divided by 3,000 and 20,000 divided by 2,000. So departmental rate. So let's find that overheads as well. So the hours are same, rates are different. Departmental rates makes more sense. Now let's add that as well. Plus 800 plus 4,000 becomes 34,800. 34,800 multiplied by 25% is the administration and sales and distribution overheads. Selling and administration, 8,700. 8,700 added to that 34,800 plus 8,700 becomes 43,500. Call it finished or whatever you want to call it. Now, this was same as job costing. Now what we do, we take the total cost, 43,500 divided by total number of units, which is 500. It gives us cost per unit. Okay, next, service costing. Service costing is very difficult to do compared to product costing. Remember, there is difference between product and service, and there is difference between costing as well. There are a few qualities of a service that make it difficult to use the target costing that we had. But we are not talking about that. Here we are talking about how services are costed and the qualities, general qualities of service. It has 4 qualities. You can remember the mnemonic SHIP if you want to memorize it, but I don't recommend it. S for simultaneous. Simultaneous means service is provided and received at the same time. So for example, service of a barber, you go to the barber, you receive a haircut. You can't tell barber, pack a haircut, you want to take it home. So you need to be physically there. Heterogeneous or variable. The quality of service is different every time. Sometimes barber gives you very good haircut, sometimes you don't like it as much. Intangible, there isn't anything physical. That's why sometimes when you spend money on service, it seems like you've lost it. With a product, you own something, but with service, you don't own anything. Perishable, cannot be stored. If you book timing with the barber, for example, you have to be present at that time. If you are not present at that time, then you will not receive haircut. So it cannot be stored. And there is another quality as well, which is not mentioned in the mnemonic. No transfer of ownership. With product, you buy something, you own something, but with service, you don't own anything. You take a haircut, you don't own anything. When you go to P5, which is APM, you will study there that nowadays organizations are focusing on giving physical evidence of service, like tickets and stuff, to make people feel that they own something. Another difficulty, so these were qualities of service. Another difficulty with service costing is the cost unit. In product, it is easier. It could be a bottle, it could be kg, but it is very difficult to use a unit, to find a unit in service. Like for a barber, what is a unit? Is it a haircut? Is it beard? Is it a face wash? What is a unit? In teaching, for example, what is a unit? In transportation, what is a unit? So what we do in service costing, instead of using one unit, we use multiple units, composite cost unit. We have example here, like we have service industry, rail, road, or air transportation service. They could use passenger per mile or per kilometer. So passenger is one thing and mile is another thing. So two things. Or they could use ton per mile, per ton per mile. So two things. Where hotels could use occupied bed per night. So per bed per night. We have full-time students for education. We have patient for hospital, patient per night. Catering established could be meals served. So sometimes we use more than one cost unit. We call that composite cost unit. So for an example here, assume that only 90% of our working time will be chargeable to clients. What price should she charge for a color and cut, which would take 3 hours? Annie is to set up a small hairdressing business at home. She anticipates working 35 hours a week and taking 4 weeks holiday per year. Her expenses for materials and overheads are expected to be $3,000 per year, and she has set herself a target profit of $18,000 for the year. Assuming that only 90% of working time will be chargeable to clients, what price should she charge for a color and cut, which takes 3 hours? Okay, so first thing, she will be working 35 hours a week and she will take 4 weeks holiday. Remember, there are 52 weeks in a year. You need to know that. It will not be told in exam. So minus 4 weeks, it means 48 weeks. So 48 weeks multiplied by 35 hours. And in that hours, she said only 90% of the time will be chargeable. It means while she's working, she will not be 100% working. She will be taking some breaks and stuff. There will be time wasted between clients. So the chargeable time is 90% of this, which is 15 of chargeable time. So if she wants to earn 18,000 profit, and there is 3,000 cost that is going to be incurred, which means she needs 21,000 revenue in this time that she's working. If I take 21,000 divided by 1512, it becomes 13.88 per hour. But remember, she works 3 hours. So directly multiply by 3 will give us 41.67 per client, which is D. Now let's look at kit questions on all of these 3 topics. Okay, let's look at the questions. Some of them I've already answered in explanation to the chapter, but let's look at the remaining. Which of the following costing method is most likely to be used by a company involved in manufacturing of liquid soap? Batch, service, job, or process? The answer of this is process costing. You will see process costing chapter that it is used for liquid and gas type of manufacturing. Okay, we've already done this one as well. This one is done as well. This one we did as well. Which of the above are contained in typical batch cost? The following items may be used in costing batches: actual material, actual manufacturing overheads, absorbed manufacturing overheads, actual labor. Okay, actual material we use, actual overheads maybe, absorbed overheads. When there is option between actual and absorbed, remember we use absorbed because overheads is usually not known. We know it when there's end. So absorb overheads and actual labor hours. So we have 1, 3, and 4 answer here, which is C in this case. Next, which of the following would be appropriate cost unit for passenger coach company? Vehicle cost per passenger per kilometer, fuel cost for each vehicle per kilometer, fixed cost per kilometer. The answer of this is vehicle cost per passenger per kilometer. It simply means the cost of fuel, the cost of repair, and everything combined. What was the room service cost per occupied room per night last period to nearest cent? The following information is available for hotel company for the latest 30-day period. We have number of rooms per night, occupancy achieved, and room service cost. They said, what is the cost per occupied room? There are 40 rooms, but occupancy is 65%. It means 26 occupied, 3,900 divided by occupied room becomes 150 per room per night. We did this one as well. Which of the following are likely to use service costing? Hotel, college, hotel, plumber. All of them are service costing systems. All of them will use service costing. All of them are service industries. Which of the following would be considered service industry? A line company, railway company, firm of accountants. All of them. What is the final fee to be charged for assignment 789? The following information is relating to management consultancy organization. Salary cost per senior, salary cost per junior, overhead absorption rate for hour applied to all hours. The overhead, the organization adds 40% to total cost to arrive at the final fee to be charged to the client. Assignment number 789 took 4 of senior time and 10 of junior time. So what is the fee that we need to charge? Okay, senior is 54 hours, it takes 40. Junior is 10 hours, one 10 hours, sorry. 1 10 hours, and it takes 25. And then overheads is based on 40%. Okay, this is the price. Overheads is charged at 20 for all hours, and all hours you can see is 154 and 110, which becomes 164 multiplied by 20 becomes 3280. So 3280, 2160 plus 2750 plus 3280 becomes total cost, which becomes 8190. 8190 divided or directly multiplied by 140% because it is markup. The selling price would be 11,466. Next, what is the total cost of the job? I think we did this one. Yeah, we did it. What is the cost per kilogram per kilometer? Last year, Brian Air carried excess baggage of 250 kg over a distance of 7,500 kilometers at a cost of 3.7 million. So what is the cost per kg per kilometer? First, we have to take the kgs, multiply by kilometers. So it gives us kg kilometers, and then take that cost of 3,750,000 divided by this data given here. So it will give us cost per kilogram per kilometer, which is 0.02. Maybe I have removed a zero somewhere here. 7,500 to 50,000 package, and we have, yeah, I've added extra zero here. We have 0.002, which is A. Now, what does it mean? What it means is that every 1 kg that you take to 1 kilometer will cost you 0.002. For example, if I want to take 100 kgs and I want to take it to somewhere that is 50, let's make it 500 kilometer far, that becomes 50,000 kilometer kgs. Multiplying by 0.002, that becomes $10. Finally, what is the cost per kilogram per kilometer sent delivered? The same type of question. A truck delivered sent to 2 customers in a week. The following details are available. Weight of kilograms, we have 500 and 180, total 680. Distance covered, kilometers 200 and 1200, which is total 400. The truck cost 3,060 to operate in the week. Each customer delivery was carried out separately, and truck made no other deliveries in the week. Okay. So we have 680 multiplied by 1,400 becomes 952,000, 3,600. If separate costs were given for each of them, I would have calculated it separately. Because joint cost is given, I will do it together. So 952,000 becomes 0.003 per kilogram per kilometer, which is A. So this completes this chapter.